Hey, greetings, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I am running a couple minutes late. Sorry about that. But regardless, we are here. We have 4 army lists to look over as always. And yeah, Matt, Hydra, DTM, Camille, Carrie, Maverick, Outdoor, Corey. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. We're having a good Sunday. Right. And today's army lists are submitted by James Fisher, Camille, Aussie Master. I think Aussie Master had another word in his name, but I removed it to make it a bit more friendly, and Brew and Biscuits. So that is today's list. Okay, and yeah, if you are new and you want to submit a list, what you do is you head over to the Blood Angels Commander channel. Hello to hit to wound, and you would hit on community. And here in the most recent community post, which apparently 807 votes on this community post, quite a lot actually. We asked people what was the best option on Sanguinary Guard, and at the moment, people by far think it is Axes. Axes winning almost 2-1 against swords, and some poor fools have thought Power Fists are the best option on Sanguinary Guard. You poor fools. I mean, maybe if they were free, and they didn't cost 5 points, I could get on board with taking Power Fists, but for the way that they are not free and they cost 5 points per model, I'd probably stay away from them. Yeah, so put your army list into a comment here. I'll find it, and we'll add it to the queue. Cool. Okay, army list number 1 is by James Fisher, and let's get into it. If you've got any Blood Angels questions, as always, just put them in the chat, and I will answer them as soon as I see them. And if there's any other problems with the stream, I have such a headache today. Sorry, I'm a bit late as well. No. Okay, so James Fisher. Hey John, a list from a few weeks ago on 11 game streak. Your advice in the group was really helpful. Below is a more fun list I'm running in a 6-man round robin fluff tournament. Okay. And we start with Vanguard Detachment. I guess if it's a fluff tournament, you can go a bit more Vanguard-y. What is up, Brazil? Good afternoon. So we have Lamartes with Exoration of Rage, Soul Warden, that is his Warlord trait, yeah, and Canticle of Hate. This isn't like a custom chapter, isn't it? Isn't it Exoration of Rage? Is this not the one that gives you +1 to wound? I'm always confused when people take this. Yeah, it adds 1 to the attack's wound rolls for models within 6. I mean, I guess we'll see what he's got, but remember, this doesn't stack with the Red Thirst, so there is a question mark around taking this. In my opinion, like, I don't know why you would take it unless you're fighting something that has -1 to wound, and I can't really... I fight a lot of games, I can't really think of anything that I come up against that is -1 to wound. Most of this time that you come up against stuff that's tough to wound, it's like Transhuman or Ramshackle or Inner Circle, and they're just, you wound on natural 4s. So, why you would take Exoration of Rage, I guess we'll see. We then have a lieutenant who is a Primaris Death Company lieutenant. We actually got 2 of them. One has Rights of War and Visage of Death, and obviously has the Storm Shield and the Volkite Pistol. The other one has the Burning Blade, and you can't take Rights of War again. It's not something I've ever tried to do, put the same Warlord trait on the character twice, but pretty sure you can't do it. There must be a rule that says you cannot pick the same Warlord trait twice. doesn't actually say there that you can't take the same warlord trait twice. Surely you can't, though, can you? Where would that be written in the codex? I'm like 99% sure you can't take the same warlord trait twice. So I think Rights of War in one of these would have to change. Someone in chat let me know where that said. It's interesting though, taking Rights of War and Visage of Death on Death Company characters, especially slow moving Death Company characters. I mean, the strength to me for the Death Company is the speed. So both your lieutenants having Storm Shield and just a 6-inch move. Seems 50-50 if it's strong, really. We have Death Company Dreadnought with double heavy flamers and blood talons. That's fine. I mean, I think you can probably save yourself 5 points. It should be written into the Warlord trait strat. So you can save yourself by 5 points by just keeping the Power Fists. I think they're kind of just as good as the Blood Talons these days. They also have an additional point of AP. You don't get rerolls to wounds, but your Power Fist and your Dreadnoughts are like Strength 14. Oh, it's just match play that you can only take the same one twice. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess on a fluffy, fun list, but if this is match play, you can't take the same one twice. Thanks, Rezio. We then have 2 squads of Death Company Intercessors, and that's funny that we see these because last night I talked about the fact that nobody runs Death Company Intercessors. Like, they just don't get any play. But it looks like this is going to be an all Death Company list. So, sorry, you've included some Death Company Intercessors for fun, I guess, and it's 6 with a Thunderhammer. Is it? No, it's 5 with a Thunderhammer. Is it? No, it's 6 with a Thunderhammer. Okay, 140 points for 6 with a Thunderhammer. The points seem okay, but no jump packs really hurts these guys, I feel like. We then have a 5-man regular Death Company with jump packs and plasma pistols, of all things. Okay, plasma pistols. Have you got any way to reroll your hits? Because you kind of want reroll hits if you're going to run plasma pistols. Then you have like a 10-man Death Company with Thunderhammers, 3 of them. You have another large Death Company with 1 Thunderhammer. And then you've got the Whirlwind because you want to be able to turn off Overwatch, I guess, with all this Death Company. And you've got 2 Impulsors because you want to put your Death Company inside, your Intercessors inside something. And then you've got a Termite drill. Oh, the second Death Company doesn't have jump packs. Oh wow, okay. Holy crap, you have a lot of Death Company models. That is like 20, 32, 37, a Death Company Dreadnought, and 3 characters. So it is a complete Death Company army. And I guess the reason by taking Rights of War there is so that you have some sort of OBSEC in this list. I feel like I would probably take a captain, though. Because Lamarta's, if I remember correctly, lets Death Company within 6 reroll their hits, right? It's been so long since I played Lamarta's, honestly. I haven't played him at all in 9th edition. While Death Company Core is within 6, you can reroll charge rolls. They can use Lamarta's leadership instead of their own. Oh, you don't get to reroll hits with Lamarta's. Maybe that was something he had in a previous edition then. Okay. So I do not understand why you've taken Exoration of Rage to give you +1 to wound, because I don't know what... I mean, you have so many Death Company models, you're unlikely to end up locked in combat for multiple turns, so it feels like Exoration of Rage here is a low-value pick. You do have Solar Ward and Incantable Hate already. I guess you can be using Litany of Hate for rerolls to hit as well. But I feel like there's probably a better pick than Exoration of Rage. I don't know what it is. Probably Mantra of Strength would be better. I don't know when you're going to get value out of that +1 to wound, unless you end up in combat for multiple turns, and with an army like this, you don't really want to be left out in turns. The leadership buff is okay on the Death Company. Yeah, the leadership buff is okay, but I mean, if you're going to go full Death Company, I'd probably recommend you go Astaroth, because there's a few things that Astaroth is better than Lamart is now, and I think that the key things are Death Company within 6 inches of Astaroth automatically pass morale, and I think that's huge, because Death Company tend to have a lot of models die in certain turns, so being able to just auto-pass their morale is really nice. And also Massive Doom, his like specific special litany, gives you a chance to give all your Death Company +1 to hit, very useful when you've got a bunch of Thunderhammers and Chainswords there. And also, you can also, on a good roll, you can essentially give your Death Company a 4-up vulnerable save. Astaroth, I guess, is, well, if you take the Mantra of Strength, can have basically a 4 damage axe. So you can have a Strength 6, -3, 4 damage axe, and like 4, 5, 6, 7 attacks, I guess, potentially. 2 from charging, 1 from Mantra of Strength. He is 30 points more than Lamart is, but I think if you're going to run full Death Company, Lamart is, I guess, is okay if you drop him down, you know, like, because he gives you the reroll charges. So if you've got some Deep Strike Death Company, I think you've got 1 squad that could potentially Deep Strike, well, 2 maybe. You might get more value out of Martyrs. What I would probably try and do is, if you're going to go full Death Company, I'd probably lose one of these lieutenants. They're slow and not that exciting. I mean, one of them's got the Burning Blade. I mean, why not take them? Why not find 50 points somewhere in this list and get... why not find 50 points somewhere in this list and get Lamartes on the board? So you've got Lamartes, Astaroth, and a lieutenant. That's probably what I would do. I mean, I wouldn't play this list probably, but I'd probably recommend you do that. And I mean, you could just drop like a couple of Death Company Marines across the list, or maybe you could drop some of these plasma pistols. I don't really 25 points on plasma pistols. I don't really see much value in that. You've got some heavy stubbers on here you could drop. That's 35 points. At that point, you only need to find like 15 more points, and you can have Astaroth. So I would make that happen. I do like a captain. I do like Death Company captains with like Storm Shields and Thunderhammers as well. But in this case, with so many Death Company around and so many models going to be needing leadership tests potentially, the Terrax Company champion bomb using Lamartes. Lamartes gives reroll charge, and you can pop the strat for a Litany of Hate to rerolls to hit. Lieutenants are probably an impulsor, but 1 captain, 1 lieutenant would probably be better. Yeah, I agree with that. 1 captain and 1 lieutenant would be better, and also I think Astaroth. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun list. It doesn't have any obsec, and it's got a whirlwind for holding objectives. I guess later in the game, the Terrax or the Impulsors can hold some objectives as well. But yeah, I think I'd lose the Plasma Pistols. Or at least if you got no way to reroll 1s in this list except around this Dreadnought, so I think that's kind of pointless. I'd lose the Plasma Pistols, and I would either take, like the people in chat said, either take Astaroth or take a captain. And I guess, yeah, you can keep Lamartes to do your Terrax bomb. I think that's fine as well. Yeah, I forget the there's not enough room in the Impulsors, because this is... Oh, there is enough room. Yeah, these are 5-man squads. Are they 4 Death Company and 1 with a Thunderhammer? Yeah. Okay, so there is enough room in the Impulsor, I guess, for a cap... Yeah, drop the Plasma Pistols and either take a captain to give you reroll 1s. But then Astaroth has that really nice litany, which can potentially give multiple Blood Angels core units and character units pretty significant buff. Massive Doom was pretty good last edition. I haven't used it so much this edition. I used to prefer it when I used to prefer it when Merciless Execution just made you take some mortal wounds. But, I mean, they changed it so you always get a buff if this goes off. You always get the +1 to hit. So, maybe losing like one Death Company guy with Chainsword is worth it for a +1 to hit. I don't know, has anyone in chat had much experience running Massive Doom since they changed it? I kind of went away from Astaroth when he became 150 points. That's a lot of points for a toughness 4, 5 wound character. I mean, he will die very, very quickly if the enemy focus him. Okay. Alright, it's a fun list. I don't know if there's too much more to say about it. Because it's all Death Company, it's not even like you can take Angel's Ascendant or something. Yeah, I mean, Captain, if the Captain was just like the... If you want the Primaris Captain that can go in like the Transport, I suppose we could take the Captain in Gravis Armor or the Captain with the Mastercrafted Heavy Bolt Rifle. But what I'm thinking here is like, if you took a custom captain like this guy who's 115 points, he's toughness 6 and he's 7 wounds, you put him into the Death Company, so he gets the 6-up shrug, he gets an additional attack. You could give him Quake Bolts or something, that might be quite useful. Because his pistol isn't really that strong, so you could just Quake Bolt something to help some of the other Death Company out with their chance to hit. I mean, that's probably more... Giving him Quake Bolts is probably more valuable than trying to like give him a relic weapon or something like that, because his pistol is 12 inches, it's lackluster, but it does hit on a 2. I can understand why he isn't taking the Captain. Lamartus gives full rerolls to hit, and the Lieutenant gives the rerolls of 1 to wound. Makes sense to me, honestly. Did I miss that? Does Lamartus give full rerolls to hit? I thought it just said you... Did I skim it? Lamartus gives you rerolls to charge. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Lamartus gives rerolls to hit anymore. He just gives rerolls to charge. He used to give rerolls to hit for the Death Company. Like, in 8th edition, I'm like 90% sure he did rerolls to hit DTM, but I don't think he does anymore. Probably another reason Lamartus doesn't see so much play. Yeah, I mean, okay. You have to cast the litanies, though. And if you're arriving from Deep Strike, you can't cast litanies in that turn. So yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know. I kind of dislike the fact that you can't cast litanies in the turn you arrive from Deep Strike. I think it limits some of the deep striking play with these sort of characters, but I mean, I guess that's just my opinion. I don't run this at all. I think it'd be a fun, fluffy list to run. I think it can probably win games, but I think I would take a captain, and I think I would lose the plasma pistols and probably some of these stubbers, and I think if I was going full Death Company goodness, yeah, I mean, I think you're going to want to cast Canticle of Hate, right? So you get the 7-inch rerollable charge, which stops you casting Litany of Hate as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun list. Let's do some scoring, because it's not a super serious list, so we could talk about this. I guess he has got a Whirlwind, and he has got Rites of War, so about 7.5. Anti-Horde, I mean, the list completely lacks firepower, right? It's got a bunch of bolt pistols and some storm bolters. And I guess it's got the Terax Volkites, but overall, I'm going to give it an 8 for Anti-Horde, because you're going to have to engage all the Horde models with your close combat. I like to be able to like split when you're fighting Horde, shoot some of them away, and then engage the rest with close combat. Anti-monster vehicles, I mean, we got a bunch of Thunderhammers. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's less Thunderhammers than I thought we had. Just 6. for that many Death Company, that feels like a small amount of Thunderhammers. And then I guess you've got some Volkite Chargers there as well. And I think if you are going to do... Yeah, Volkite. Okay, so I think Monster is going to be like 8.5. I think if you're going to do a 10-man Death Company, you want the ability to give them rerolls to hit and put them in the Assault Doctrine early. If you can't do that, then I think you lose some of the power of the Death Company. Hello, Martin. Good afternoon. Okay, and then I think your mobility is pretty great, right? Like, there's everything in this list is fairly mobile, except maybe the Dreadnought. Anything else that isn't mobile is going to be on a transport, so that's fine. And specialization, I mean, you do have a fight last. That's great. You have no denies. You have no units for actions. You have like 7 3 damage weapons, 6 CP. You do have some protection against mortals, so I give you like a 7.5. I mean, not a total horrible score, in fact, James. And I'm glad your other list is doing well, because I don't know if I have much objective feedback on this list. Thank you so much for subscribing, 521 Wallace. I appreciate it. But yeah, so this is I guess this is just a fun Death Company list. And my feedback on the list is limited, because I've not been playing Death Company probably for a year now. You'd probably have to go back into 2019 to find a game on my channel then, Death Company. I moved from Death Company into Vanguard Veterans, and I was running what was it like? I was running Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans and Sanguinary Guard, 2 squads of like 3 squads between the 2 types, and I genuinely like that a lot more. I'm late, but this list needs more Sanguinary Guards, the Steel Rain. Oh, thank you so much for watching the video as well, so I appreciate it. It's always nice to pick up some new subscribers. If you've got any questions, please just ask. I'm live a couple of times a week. So, all right. So this is James' list. It's interesting. If you want to run full Death Company, I mean, it's kind of cool to include some Death Company Intercessors. We never see them. Nobody runs them. I was saying last night on stream, I've seen them about once in a year. But yeah, so in terms of like all Death Company, people have asked me, like, can you make a competitive all Death Company list? I've said no, but I actually think this is okay. I mean, I don't know if it's still competitive, but I think it's okay. Could there ever be Death Company Sanguinary Guard? I mean, maybe in the lower, the Sanguinary Guard could fall to the Black Rage, soon, same as any other Blood Angel, but I guess they would probably get their armor taken away from them at that point and get put in Death Company armor. Okay, Camille. Hello, John. Here's my new list. I took some inspiration from your list and changed it a bit to fit into my tactics. I switched from a heavy resilient list to a shooty melee mobile list. After including some servitors and company veterans, I thought to myself, there should be a different way to spend this points for some shooty Phobos units. I've started to include Las Eliminators with the carbines on the Sergeant to get 12-inch move out of them every turn. Mostly it's cover obscuring shoot. Cover obscuring, sure. Actually, it's a nice tactic to piss off the enemy because they start to wear and tear some of the enemy units down turn after turn without even getting hit back in return. I've always placed them correctly after the shooting phase, also great for objective holding and performing actions after turn 3. I've also started to use 6 times, I guess you mean 6-man squads of Sanguinary Guard because they're expensive, but mostly a one-time use unit. I thought about 2 6s or even 3 6s, but this would require a completely different list to fit them in points-wise. The last games I've started to use 3 Dreads, and it's become slowly an auto-pick for me. It gives the other units enough distraction and fire support to be able to handle the list more or less. The only slow units are the Dreads and the Blade Guard Veterans, but there's no need for those units to be fast like the rest of the list. For secondary, I mostly take Oath Data, and the third depends on the enemy list. I've used 2 or 3 times also a slightly changed list to fit in the Calexis Assassin and the Primaris Chaplain on bike with the Reliquary of Galathmore Relic for a -3 in 18-inch and a mortal wounds and 4+ twin failed cast. Works great for the Abhor the Witch secondary and used against psychic armies. Even Mortarion Magnus had trouble casting. Yes, as a long supporter and member, I wanted to give you a big thank you for the time, support, and teachings. I think because of this channel, more and more Blood Angel players can achieve victory in games or tournaments, even in the current state of our codex and competitive play. Well, thank you for the kind comments, Camille. I appreciate it. I'm watching my phone, but it's shitty graphics. Are we missing the names being displayed, reviewed? No, we are. I mean, I guess if you're watching on your phone, it's hard to see. Carrie, yes. I haven't actually done the listening for a little while. Let me see if I can update them. Camille. Okay. There we go. Current list is Camille. Okay, so it's inspired by my list, but it's got Laz Eliminators, Laz Fusel Eliminators, and also just one squad of Sanguinary Guard, which was similar to what I was running not too long ago. Okay. First detachment is Vanguard Detachment. We have the Primaris Tech Marine, who is Soul Warden and Master of the Forge, right? So he repairs a flat 3 damage every turn. We have 2 Relic Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and we have 1 Relic Contemptor Dreadnought. All this looks good. Right weapon options, I'm happy with all of this. We then have a Vanguard Veteran Squad with jump packs. 2, 4, 6, 8, and the Sergeant has the Infernal Pistol and the Thunderhammer, which is nice. We then have 2 Eliminator Squads, both with Las Fusils, and both with the Sergeant with the Carbines. So, like you said, they can move, they can shoot, they can move. And those Las Fusils aren't bad. I mean, I kind of like the Las Fusils. I think they're 36 inches, strength 8, -3, flat 3 damage. And especially, like, if you think about Space Marines at the moment, it's difficult to get... they're going to be in heavy support, aren't they? It's difficult to get units that have flat 3 damage, right? I mean, your Plasma and your Redemptor has it, but, you know, Las Cannons, Multi-Meltas, these sort of things, none of them have the flat 3 damage, which is I think is really nice. And 36 inches on this as well is very decent, and the fact that these have a ballistic skill of 2 is also very decent, right? So, like, even if they move and shoot, they still hit on 3s. If they don't have to move, then they have hit on 2s. I mean, I think if you're going to run Eliminators, I prefer the Las Fusils. Like, sure, they can occasionally snipe away a character or something, but, like, I think Las Fusils is just... It's always useful to hit a squad with, like, 4 Las Cannons, or hit some armor with 3 damage, -3 Las Cannons, right? It feels good for the amount of points. I think it's I think it's 85 points for the squad. Normally it's 75, and you have to pay 5 points for each additional Las Fusel. So I've got a squad of Eliminators with Las Fusils, and I've used them a couple of times. I prefer them to Suppressors. Someone was asking about that in stream last night. Do I think they're better than Suppressors? Yes. And you're right. I mean, they get a 12-inch move each turn, and they can move 6. They can shoot, and then they can move another 6. So they can move in and out of cover and be kind of sneaky, as long as your Sergeant has the Bolt Carbine. And I mean, the Bolt Carbine isn't horrible either. I think it's only 24 inches. Yep, Assault 1. So, and then it's a 2 damage, and you can ignore Lookout Sir. So if you are within 24 inches of an enemy character, you can just try and pop them. I guess in this case you get 2 of them. 2 strength 4 shots, -1, and each fail is 2 damage. So it's certainly not great, but it's not horrible either. Second detachment here is a patrol detachment, and we have a captain on a bike, whose Artisan of War, Gifted Foresight, Adamantium Mantle, Infernal Pistol, Arrow Indomitus, Thunderhammer, and Warlord. Yeah. This is all good. And then we have our Librarian with Might of Heroes, Null Zone, and Psychic Fortress. We also have an Infernal Pistol on this, and he is the Psychic Mastery. I think you mentioned a Bore the Witch, right? You aren't able to pick a Bore the Witch. Am I making this up? Did he mention a Bore the Witch? I guess, yeah, maybe he didn't mention. Oh, he did say, aboard the witch, aboard the witch. I guess he spelled it slightly wrong. You can't take aboard the witch if you have a Psyker in your list. Where is it? The witch. I'll search. It's not here. Probably inside core rules, is it? Abor. How the hell do you spell abor? I really thought I knew. You spelled it wrong. I've spelled it wrong as well. Do you know what? I've got my chapter. Why am I searching? Alright, let me read this to you. Abor the Witch says, you cannot select the secondary objective if your army contains a Psyker unit. Score 3 victory points at the end of the battle for each Psyker unit. Psyker character unit is destroyed and 2 for every other enemy Psyker. So, nice thought, but I guess this is one of the reasons that, like, don't go for... Maybe people go for, like, a chaplain and a captain rather than the Null Zone Librarian. Yeah, so you can't take aboard the witch if you are going to include the chief librarian. Oh, it's a different list. Okay, sorry. Oh right, it's slightly changed list. Okay, sorry, I'm with you. Okay. Like I said, I got a crazy headache going on today. I'm sorry. Okay. See, this is one of the things that I do, right? Like, I run this character, Might of Heroes Null Zone Psychic Fortress. I run him exactly like that. And I've run him with and without the Infernal Pistol. I think that the Infernal Pistol is take it or leave it. If you have 5 points at the end of your list, take it. But, like, it doesn't convey a huge amount of value. It's fine to include it. It's also fine to not include it. This character is a dilemma for me, because sometimes Might of Heroes saves Dreadnoughts from dying. Psychic Fortress is brilliant on a lot of units that don't have invulnerable saves, and Null Zone can also win or lose games with a well-placed Null Zone. However, not being able to access Abor the Witch can be annoying, but then again, 2 denies can also be very good as well, and that's what you get with the Chief Librarian. So it's a really difficult character to drop, I guess, this Librarian. I do like him a lot. I have thought about dropping him so that we could have access to more anti-psychic stuff, but I always end up keeping him on my list. I just don't think... I think my playstyle... I think if you're going to run Redemptor Dreadnoughts, kind of need to have that Psychic Mastery, Psychic Fortress Librarian. But yeah, if you only have a single Redemptor, maybe it is less important. That's possibly a valid criticism. DTM. If you're gonna run double Redemptor, it's really important. Yeah, Board of the Witch is just something. It's just a secondary stress test. So yeah, you just pick it up before the game. Welcome Asylum. Yeah, you're maybe right. If you're only gonna run one Redemptor, but then sometimes. Sometimes, like, Psychic Fortress can give value on other units as well, right? Like, if you've got Intercessors, for example, who are normally on a 3-up save, if they get hit with anything more than -2, then Psychic Fortress helps them out, So I have other units that I feel benefit as well from Psychic Fortress, but yeah, maybe it's an experimentation I could do to remove this. But I do like this character a lot. He's been a core in my list now probably for like 9 months. 6 months? 9 months? Feels like a long time I've been running this. Okay, we then have, I mean, you're not just paying the points to protect the librarian. Sometimes you're paying the points for Null Zone, and Null Zone could be huge against the right army. Like, Death Guard Terminators, Eldari jet bikes with a 3-up invulnerable save. I won a game at a tournament because a guy flew like a squad of like 6 jet bikes in or something and paid a bunch of CP to give them a 3++, and I just instantly null zoned them and killed the entire squad of jet bikes. I think it won me the game pretty much straight away, almost. So like null zone isn't used in every game, but when it's used and it goes off, you know, my game on the top table a few weeks ago against the Grey Knights, I had null zone denied by the Grey Knights player. I cast it on a 9, I think, and he rolled the 9 or the 8. I can't remember. Grey Knights get +1 to their denies, right? So, Null Zone makes Riptides cry. Yeah, I mean, on my game against the Grey Knights player, if Null Zone had gone off, I think I failed it twice in that game. Once it was denied, once I failed to cast it, and I think if they... Normally, Null Zone can be pretty reliable. And I was having a tough game that time, but I think Null Zone in the right situation against the right enemies can actually be kind of huge. Okay. You can count the times you've meaningfully cast Null Zone on one hand. Yeah, I mean, I've cast it more than that, but I have also struggled. Yeah, it's a funny one. I think it's important. There was a game on my channel actually where I played Mortarion and we null zoned Mortarion in turn 1 and killed him, which was pretty big. So yeah, it goes both ways. There is games where null zone does nothing. There's a lot of games where it does nothing. Having the threat of it's pretty nice. Having the jump pack guy as well gives you a really good range and threat on it as well. Alright, we've got Incursors. I like Incursors a lot. Incursors are going to be a lot more common, I think, with the changes that they just announced to... don't know if you guys have been looking, but there's a bunch of changes coming to secondaries and chapter approved. I guess I'll probably do a video on that soonish, but from what I've heard, there's a lot of changes coming with chapter approved 2022. In terms of like the maps, the secondaries. So I guess we'll discuss that whenever that comes out, or whenever I actually get like a non-leaked version. So I actually have the official rules. We have the 5 Blade Guard veterans, which I like. We also have the 8 Sanguinary Guard. Is this 8? Yeah. Mostly axes and swords, which I also like, and the Whirlwind. So yeah, I mean, this is Whirlwind, Sanguinary Guard, Blade Guard, Incursors, Librarian, Captain. These are all in my... These were all in my tournament list. So was the Tech Marine, so was a Redemptor, so was a Relic Contemptor. And I guess this is where the lists diverge. So you have another Redemptor where I had another Relic Contemptor. You have 2 Eliminator squads and Vanguard Veterans where I had a squad of Terminators. And what else did I have? Oh, I had a battalion. So I had a squad of Terminators, another squad of Incursor, another squad of Assault Intercessors. I think what we're going to see is... So, Retrieve Octaria's data is going to be changed. So that you need... and I mean, I can probably pull up Goonhammer right now and let me see if I can... Do you know what? Yeah, Goonhammer. Yeah, there it was. Look. Grand Tournament Secondaries. And... it's now called Retrieve Nanakmun data. Replaces Retrieve Octarius data. It can be attempted by 1 infantry or biker. So now characters and bikers can attempt it. Per turn, if they're more than 6 inches from the table quarter, at the end of your turn, roll a d6, subtracting 1 if the performing the action has the troops battlefield roll. So you roll a d6. If it's a troop unit, you subtract 1. If you roll less than equal to the number of models in the unit, it's completed. You score 4, 8, 12 for completing the action 2, 3, 4 times. So characters can attempt the action, but are very unlikely to pull it off, requiring an unrerollable 1. I guess, like, if you were trying to do it with, like, a 2-man company veteran squad now, you would need to roll 2 or less. If you're doing it with servitors, you would need to roll 4 or less. If you're doing it with troops, you guaranteed to, a 5-man troop squad will always perform the action correctly, right? So, my list at the moment is 2 squads of Incursors and 1 squad of Assault Intercessors. I kind of feel like we're going to see a lot more 5-man troop squads. And I think it's, for Blood Angels, I've already spoken about this at length, I think it's Incursors are probably the most sensible, most offensive troop choices we can take. I mean, Infiltrators are good as well. Bit more defensive, but yeah, this is a big change. This means that, you know, if you're going to reserve servitors to try and come and do Octarius, there's a 66% chance. No, yeah, there's a 33% chance that a 4-man servitor squad is going to fail Octarius data. It makes Octarius data a lot weaker. I mean, I guess in some ways it makes Raise the Banners makes Raise the Banners in that one a lot better. And Teleport Homers now completes the end of your turn if attempted by unit with the troops battlefield roll. That's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't think that helps a ton for Blood Angels, but I think it is interesting. I'll have to go into all these once we actually get the book and seriously check them out. Nullzone has been clutch for me against Custodes. Yeah, you're very right. Nullzone is one of those spells that you either need it or you don't need it. And if you need it and you don't have it, it sucks. So, yeah, you're not going to use it in every battle, but the threat of it in some battles is brilliant, and that's why I can't drop it. Because I think it was it DTM? Or somebody said that they've counted the number of times Nullzone has been good for them on one hand. Maybe it was DTM. So about 6 months ago, I made a change to my list where I dropped my Librarian. And I went from, like, before Chapter Approved 2021 came out, I had like 13 wins on the bounce or something. And then Chapter Approved 2021 came out, and I made some changes to my list because all our points costs went up. And I also ended up dropping my Librarian with Nullzone. And I went from like 13 wins in a row to probably 3 wins in 10 games. It was the worst period of gaming that I've played, or it was my worst streak since I started the Blood Angels Commander channel. And after those, like, I made a bunch of changes and I was losing every week and I couldn't figure it out, and then I ended up going back to including the Librarian. I might have made some other changes as well, but after I included that Librarian again, I've basically gone on, like, I don't know, I've played 30 games on the channel, I've won 29, I've played 8 games at tournaments, so 10 games at tournaments, I've won 8. So if you look at, like, my results over the last 40 games, let's say I've won 37 of them, and that's since I brought back the Librarian with Nullzone. And I think it is. Nullzone's probably only needed once every 5 battles, but when it's needed, it is needed. And without it, you potentially lose games. With it, you potentially win games. And yeah, I mean, like, you look at the other 2 Dreadnoughts that or the other 2 Psychers we have access to that are exciting, right? We have Mephiston, and we have our Librarian Dreadnought. And Mephiston can be good, and Librarian Dreadnought can be good as well. I mean, I like both the models. I have them painted. I've played with them a bunch. I think Unleash Rage is the closest thing we have to Nullzone, which gives you a bunch of extra attacks on a single unit. But I think if the enemy have a really good invulnerable save, like a 4-up, for example, and you're going to hit them with a bunch of -3 axes, or a bunch of -5 power fists, chain fists, or something of the nature, Dreadnought, close combat weapons. Yeah, you had me thinking there when you said, like, you don't think the Librarian's worth having if you only have one Redemptor Dreadnought. And yeah, it just brought me back to that train of thought where, like, I was like, yeah, I must have thought that myself at some point 6 months ago, and I tried to get rid of the Librarian. And I think when I wasn't running the Librarian, I mean, I would have probably been running the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, because I painted him up, and I really like the idea of having him with a 4 damage Crozius that does mortals on 6s. But yeah, I always come back to this Librarian. He is important, not just for the buffs he provides, but also the debuff he can provide, even if it's not used that often. Anyway, so, right. This list then, the 3 Dreadnoughts are brilliant. It's a really good core. I guess the one thing to start with is we start with OBSEC, don't we? So OBSEC is a little bit lower in this list. He's the 1 troops unit, and we do have a Whirlwind, so we're going to start with like 7 points. So Whirlwind can hold the backfield, we've got our 1 troops unit. I guess everything's going to change when this new chapter approved comes out, but for now, let's just talk about the rules that are now. Anti-Horde Infantry. I mean, with 2 Redemptors and a Relic Contemptor, you can handle Hordes pretty easily. I guess you have Eliminators that can do a little bit of shooting as well. You have a bunch of Angelus Bolt Guns that can do a bit of shooting too, so I think Anti-Horde is like an 8.5. Yeah. Anti-Monster. How many 3 damage weapons we got in here? We have our Captain and Librarian, essentially getting 3, 4 from these Las Fusils. So it gives us 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So arguably about 14 3 damage weapons. So I think anti-infantry monster is anti-vehicle monster is fine. Mobility, I guess, is a little bit lower because we've got a few units that just are on foot, but overall it's pretty great. I don't really class Dreadnoughts as low mobility. I mean, yeah, I guess if they get profiled, they kind of move a little bit slower, but your Dreadnoughts are just going to lumber towards the middle of the map, usually, and just sort of hold that, so that's fine. We have Fight Last, we have Denies, we have 1 unit for actions. That might be the weakness here. I guess the Eliminators kind of bring that up, so you could potentially have 3 units for actions. I'm sure the Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard Veterans can do actions as well, but you probably don't want them to be doing actions. The Eliminators can at least do their actions and still shoot. Can your Eliminators move? Can they use this? Can they use the ability to move after they've started performing an action? From the Instigator Bolt Rifle? I actually don't know that. We have 14 3 damage weapons. We have protection against mortal wounds in the Soul Ward and Warlord trait on the Tech Marine, and we also have how many CP? 5 CP. Alright, so the CP is a tiny bit low, but the rest of things are looking pretty good. Greetings, Highland Phoenix. How you doing? Hope you're well. We have Eliminators for objective holding. Yeah, I mean, we have Eliminators that can hold objectives, yep. And we also have the Dreadies, and the Tech Marines are the only one with movement less than 10. Yeah, and the thing about the Tech Marine is quite often I just advance that Tech Marine. I mean, his ballistic skill is 2 anyway, so when you advance him, he still hits on 3s. I don't think the Tech Marine is that slow, really, comparatively. It's just the 2 Redemptors. If they get profiled, they become kind of slow, I guess. But specialization, I think, is like right up there. There's nothing that this list doesn't have except maybe some starting CP, and it could probably use 1 more unit for action. But yeah, you're right. Maybe because the Eliminators all have the double move, maybe that can go up to 8.5. They can still perform an action with the stratagem, though, right? You can shoot and perform an action. I think it's called Unrelenting Firepower. You're testing me now. Unrelenting? No. Merciless? No. Alright, stratagems. Where are we? stratagems by phase. It would be the shooting phase, uncompromising fire. I was close. What did I say? Unrelenting. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase. Select one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that is performing an action. That unit can shoot this phase without the action failing. So, can you shoot and then move again afterwards and still be performing the action? I mean, I've used uncompromising fire on my Inceptors. So my Inceptors have arrived from Deep Strike. We've played like Descent of the Angels, so they get +1 to hit. Then I've played uncompromising fire, so they can perform the action and shoot, hitting on 2s with those 18 bolter shots when they arrive. Turn 2, for example. It can be pretty useful. I guess Inceptors are going to be a bit weaker in terms of being able to the rod changes, I guess, Reziel, are kind of a nerf to our bolter Inceptors, which is a little bit sad, because I use those bolter Inceptors a lot of times to score rod points. I don't really want to have to run a 6-man squad of bolter Inceptors. That's kind of getting too expensive, isn't it? Okay. Camille's list is solid. As of right now, I mean, the Patrol and Vanguard list like this is what I ran at Clan Wars. It was very, very similar. I think what I ran at Clan Wars compared to this list, I didn't have this Relic Contemptor. I talked about having the Primaris Chaplain on the bike. I had that, and I think I had like, you know what, I'm going to check. Clan Wars, maybe it's, yeah, what did I run at Clan Wars? It was very, very similar to this. Captain on the bike, Librarian, Infiltrators, Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Veterans. Oh, I ran 2 attack bikes. That was it. So you ran 2 squad and the Bolter Inceptors. So you ran the 2 squads of Eliminators. I guess I ran the Inceptors and 2 attack bikes. And obviously I had 1 less Dreadnought. I had some company veterans in there, which we just talked about, probably are now nerfed. Yeah, so, and this list put me 4 wins, 1 loss. I actually beat, can't remember in this tournament, I think I beat the team that went first, and I lost to the team that went second. So I actually beat the top player in the first team. So this list can win games, 100%. I haven't tried the 2 Redemptors and 1 Contemptor run out. At the moment, I'm running 2 Contemptors and 1 Redemptor. I kind of feel that I always get more value out the Contemptors. Just it's the 16 shots that seem to do it for me. The Redemptors are quite swingy in terms of number of shots. You know, it's D6 on that plasma, and sometimes you roll a 6 and it's brilliant, but by the equal numbers, sometimes you roll a 1 and it's crap. And here's the thing, right? Let's say you roll a 1 time on a Redemptor Dreadnought, and you want to pay a CP to re-roll it because you're like, shit, I rolled 1 and that's crap. Well, that 1 CP you spent there, you could have just included a Relic Contemptor, and the Relic Contemptor doesn't need as much support, right? Because it has the built-in invulnerable save. It can also include a Cyclone Missile Launcher, which is pretty useful. And it can also Overwatch better, I guess. You know, if you get 16 shots in Overwatch, you're going to make some hits with 16 shots. So, I guess the Redemptors are better in close combat. I really can't decide. You know, if they were both the same amount of points, maybe the Redemptors were better. But the Redemptors being 30 points more kind of makes me feel they're a little bit weaker. Especially the fact that the Redemptors kind of need Psychic Fortress to be effective, right? If the enemy goes first on you, and the enemy goes, like I played against a Dukari player, in the game I lost at that tournament, the Dukari player went first, and he hit both Redemptors multiple times with like the Dark Lances, and he did some significant damage. Both Redemptors did, they were able to put them back to full profile from my Tep Marine, but it was only just, I want to say like 1 Redemptor had 9 wounds and 1 had 8, you know, so it was like both Redemptors had taken some significant damage in turn 1 because we didn't have any we didn't have any invulnerable save against those minus. I think Dark Lances are -4. I think they should be -3, but I'm sure Dark Lances are -4. So they're, with no Psychic Mastery, you have no invulnerable save against Dark Lances. Yeah, they're -4, D3 + 3. So if you get... So, before the nerf, people were running, 6 Raiders? So now Raiders went up 10 points? Because they used to... Well, at the beginning of 9th, they used to be 85 points a model. They've actually made them plus 20 points. But that tournament I was running at, there was 6 of them. So... The Redemptors, I guess, they need to be deployed defensively. They need to be deployed in obscuring positions. But if you get Psychic Fortress up on them and they get into melee combat, then they're brilliant. And they do, over a course of a game, they can't be ignored. They do enough damage. If you ever rolled 6 on... after playtesting, I ended up going triple Redemptor myself. Well, fair enough. I just think that the problem with the Redemptors I find is the swinginess of the Plasma Cannon, but I guess the swinginess of the Contemptors can be swingy as well, right? Because sometimes I've shot one arm. I think I shot one arm this week and did 5 mortal wounds from 8 shots with the Contemptors, and obviously sometimes you shoot all 16 shots and you do no mortal wounds. So there is swinginess in them both, but any combination of Redemptors and Relic Contemptors, I think this is the core. This is very important. Couple of jump pack units is good. The Blade Guard are good. Incursors, everything else I like. I wonder with these changes to Rod if we're going to need to see more battalions and more Incursor squads. I think we probably are. And because if you think about it, an Eliminator squad, a 3-man squad now only has a 50-50 chance to perform Rod, which is not good in a tournament setting. You don't want to be performing actions 50-50 chance. If we can't take Rod anymore, it probably makes things quite tough for Blood Angels, because I've relied a lot on Rod as a reliable third pick secondary, all the way through the. We may see more Tactical Marines. I mean, we may see more Tactical Marines. I wouldn't hold my breath for Tactical Marines. Tactical Marines in a Rhino doing Rod. Holy shit. God, I think Tactical Marines are horrible right now. Zachary says, Eliminators are super good to leave in backline and deep strike screening. Yeah, I mean, Eliminators are. They're going to be a lot worse at retrieve Octarius data, which is sad. And I actually own... I bought Eliminators with Las Fusils and the Carbine so that I could have that as an option, and I do like it as an option. I also need to decide how I feel about Servitors only being able to perform Rod 66% of the chance of the time. It may actually be that I may end up dropping my Servitors as well. I guess we'll have to think about that. Anyway, this is a good list. I think we might see more people start moving towards battalions, and I think this could actually be made into a battalion fairly easily. About 3 characters is good. You don't give up that many points for Bring It Down. 7 points for Bring It Down, I think. Maybe 8. No, 7, I think it would be. And you got the Tech Marines, so it makes Bring It Down difficult. So it's a hard list to pick against. It's got good reliability, it's got good damage, and it's got a good melee threat, Camille. I like it. I think 43 for it seems probably about right. I reckon if I scored my own list, it'd probably be about 43. Remember, I mean, the scoring is just an approximation of strength, right? Okay. I'm not sure if I'd keep Servitors if they fail Rod 33% of the time. That's kind of what they were in the list for. Yeah, I mean, the company veterans have no chance to perform Rod now, which is interesting as well. And how the fuck does that work for knights? Holy crap. Like, they just literally can't do Rod because they're like, all their units of armigers are like 1 or 2 models? Okay. 5 company veterans with Meltas surrounding an apothecary. I mean, 5 company veterans is still going to be this. I guess, yeah, there's still a chance that 5 company veterans can fail because you need to have the troops battlefield roll to basically not fail with a 5-man unit, Matt. It's kind of crazy. Okay, let's move on to list number 3 for today, and this is by Aussie Master. Knights could never do Rod, I believe. Really? Oh, maybe. Yeah. Okay, hi mate. Trying to take tips in your videos and add them to my own. Have come up with this. I think the unit choices are okay, but not sure about the squad quantities and loadout. What do you think? Alright, Aussie Master. Yeah, you're right. I think my knights could never do Rod. And they never will be able to do. I guess, yeah, I mean, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's still. I guess it moves like Crusader. 2-man Crusader squads are not going to be doing Rod anymore. When I played Tau, they were using like Vespid Stingwings. When I played. Like, there was a lot of people that had these small units doing Rod. So I guess that's just going to be completely shut down, or you're just not going to see it anymore. It's still going to give a big advantage to the armies that have like really excuse me. It's still going to give big advantages to armies that have really cheap troop choices. And as Blood Angels, we don't really have any cheap troop choices. I wouldn't call tacticals cheap. Tacticals are actually overcosted, in my opinion, for how good they are. Tactical Marines should have stayed at 15 points per model. I might have actually put some on the board if they'd stayed at 15 points per model. At 18, they're too expensive. Alright, so this is a battalion with 9 CP. Captain on a bike, Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle, Storm Shield, Armor Indomitus, Thunderhammer. You don't need the Storm Shield, in my opinion, on this captain. I would just give him an Infernal Pistol and save yourself 5 points. If you have Armor Indomitus, you're on a 2-up save anyway. I don't know if a 1-up save makes a whole lot of difference. You're already Toughness 5, so it's not like Small Arms Fire really wound you that much anyway. So I don't know if I don't think the 1-up save from the Storm Shield makes a huge amount of difference, but especially you reroll 1 save every turn anyway from Gift of Foresight. And then we've got a Sanguinary Priest who has a Jump Pack, Rites of War, and his Visage of Death. I always think Rites of War and Visage of Death are kind of. I think you just want Rites of War. I think Visage of Death is only 3 inches, right? And it's really, I think it's difficult to place your unit in a perfect position for Visage of Death to work. Because if you think about an objective being, where would it be? I'll go into Blood Angels. If you think about Visage of Death, while an enemy is within 3 inches of this model, it loses the offset keyword. So for Visage of Death, you literally need to be standing right center point of the objective. Because if you're. I mean, I'm terrible at art, but I can show you what I mean, right? Here's a circle, which is the center of the objective, and here is your actual 3-inch bubble of it. So this is the objective marker, this is the 3 inches. Here. So unless you're stood right on this objective marker, and your base is as big as this objective marker. That's a good question. Is a Sanguinary Priest's base as big as an objective marker? I will check right now, because I have some objective markers. Here's an objective marker. Here's a Sanguinary Priest. his base is not as big as the objective marker. Okay? So, if you stand your Sanguinary Priest right in the center of this objective here. Oh, shit. Give me a circle, and we'll do a circle in red. So this red circle will be my Sanguinary Priest base. And that is terrible. That is also terrible. Well, that'll work, right? So here's my Sanguinary Priest in the middle. So basically what you'd be saying is, if this line here is 3 inches, then if anyone is there, I'm removing OBSEC. Correct? So if I'm the enemy player, I take my 1 OBSEC unit and put it here. Alright, I've OBSEC'd that objective away from you. So I think Visage of Death is a very difficult... Rites of War is great, right? Because your Rites of War aura is 6 inches. So this is your Rites of War aura. So it's covering the whole objective. Your priest could be miles away. You know, the priest could basically, like... The priest could have his base over here. Oh shit, keep that as purple. You know, so the priest base could be there on the objective. Obviously, or here, right? And like the Rites of War is covering the entire objective. Great. But because the priest base is not as big as the center objective, the Sanguinary Priest is on the 32. Yeah, I mean, my Sanguinary Priest is on the 32. This objective is bigger. I assume this is a standard objective marker. Do I have any, like, some kill team objective markers? I also have this that I bought ages ago that I need to friggin' start reading. The big bastard of a book. I should try and actually start that. Rights is less good, though. The amount of things that already have... Yeah, I mean, Rights is less good. Alright, so I have some kill team objective markers, and while they are very similar to the priest space, it's not 100%. So, I don't think... I mean, alright, let's say that you can put your priest down very center of the objective, right? Even if you could put your priest down in that very center of the objective, like, is that going to make logical sense? What if the cover on the objective is like this? You know, like, what if the enemy has, like, a knight's army or something, or, like, really heavy firepower, and the cover is like this? So you need to have your priest, like, here. Well, like, yeah, so objective markers are 40 millimeters. Yeah, you're right. So they're bigger. So I think if you take Rites of War, that's fine. I think taking I just think Visage of Death is a much more difficult thing to use correctly because of those reasons that I just mentioned. Visage would only be worth it with the 6-inch heroic intervention warlord trait. Well, I mean, if you're a really good player, I guess, and you can really position your models perfectly on the objective, and you know where the enemy charges are going to come in, and I mean, I think you can make a Visage of Death work, don't get me wrong, but I think, like, if you've got a Sanguinary Priest that's granting Rites of War, then I think you should play around that, and maybe not try and play about Visage of Death. And it's probably just because it's a priest, right? The priest needs to be somewhere safe. The priest needs to be alive. The priest needs to be reviving models, granting that 6-up shrug. He doesn't want to be bang in the center of the objective, and even then it's not perfect, right? So I just think Visage of Death is probably the wrong choice on the Sanguinary Priest. You could tell me I'm wrong, but if I felt like it was super strong, I'd probably play it, right? Yeah. So that's... I feel like the priest is my example there where I said, like, there's a bit of terrain that's going to give cover. Well, that's perfect for Rites of War. So the priest is an obscuring possession, granting OBSEC to all the models on the objective, but is also protected. And yeah, I think you said it as well, fucking nuts. There's too many, there's just too many difficulties around Visage of Death. But I mean, it does make you -1 to hit. It's not a totally worthless relic. In some situations, it could be good. I think you just need to know all the facts, and I guess that's what I was trying to explain there. That the facts that you can't just stand in the middle of the objective. It's not feasible, and also even if you do, the enemy can still obsect that objective away from you. So Visit of Death is like, it's hard to use right. We then have 2 Infiltrator squads and Incursor squads, and I love these guys. You guys know that I love Infiltrators and Incursors. I think they're the best troop units you can choose. Honestly, I would go 2 Incursors and 1 Infiltrator. I don't think you need to be quite as defensive. But let's see what else he's got. And the Helix Gauntlet makes the Infiltrators really defensive. I tend to find my troops hide a lot in obscuring positions, so unless they have a ton of indirect fire, your Infiltrators are probably not going to die, so the Helix Gauntlet points might be best spent somewhere else. Honestly, I prefer Artificer Armor on the Priest with Teeth of Terra and a free res per turn. I mean, yeah, giving the Priest an invulnerable save is no bad thing. And yeah, paying the extra points so the Priest gets a free revive a turn. If you have a lot of melee units or if you have a lot of infantry, that makes a lot of sense. We then have a decent sized Death Company, 2, 4, 6, 8, all with chainswords. And it's fine, I guess. It'll be like an infantry shredding unit. I always like to have like at least one special weapon in Death Company, because sometimes the reason I did that even in my 5-man Death Company, sometimes on the battlefield you can plan for anything, but games change and the tactics and like, you know, your units won't always end up in the exact perfect position. So sometimes I like to have like a Power Fist or a Thunderhammer or an Inferno Pistol on that Death Company, so when they end up in a position that's not ideal for like a chainsword killing unit, they can still kill them, because chainswords aren't going to do that much against armor, for example. Okay, I then also, we get 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, 1 all Infernal Pistols and 1 all bolt guns, and the exact same thing for me here, in that I would split these pistols across both squads. I get that these squads have defined roles, but 2 things: if my enemy knows that all my meltas are in one squad, then they'll target that squad first, right? Because like, why would you not target the squad that's got all the meltas? And then, well, when I say meltas, I mean Infernal Pistols. Infernal Pistols are literally melta pistols, right? And then the second thing is, again, I may be in a position late in the game where the squads are split apart, they're different points of the board, and I really could have used an Infernal Pistol in that other squad. So I like to split my weapons across 2 squads. I get you don't have quite the same weight of fire, but I think it's better to do that. I really do. Because you never know what's going to be alive at the end of the battle. And sometimes having that one Infernal Pistol alive in both squads can make a difference at the end of the game. What's your relic of choice in a Librarian Commander? I'm thinking about bringing him back instead of my chap on a bike. He dies too easily, though. The Librarian dies too easily? I don't run my Librarian with any relic. I run him with Psychic Mastery, which is a Warlord trait. But I play him pretty defensively. Try and keep him defensive for a couple of turns. We then have a Vanguard Veteran Squad, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's a 10-man squad, all Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. If you're going to go a 10-man squad, I would honestly drop the Storm Shield on the Sergeant and give him an Infernal Pistol, because if all other 9 men are dead already, then him having a Storm Shield or not, I feel like is low importance. Like, I would just have an Infernal Pistol on him, so he can do a bit of work. We have a 5-man squad of Bolter Inceptors, and someone asked earlier in the chat, I missed it, sorry, if Plasma Inceptors are worthless or not useful or something like that. I'm not a huge fan of plasma weaponry in general, because I tend to roll a lot of 1s. The only plasmas I run are on my Redemptor Dreadnoughts. I like keeping my Inceptors cheaper. I might like running on with the Bolters. The Bolters are ineffective against some targets, yes. You know, like, they are literally ineffective against armor. But against, like, Toughness 3 infantry, which seem to be in my meta a lot, like Admech, Yukari, Sisters of Battle, those Bolter Inceptors just rinse them. And if you bring them in turn 2, they're -2 AP. So you're like, you can hit on 2s, you can wound on 3s, they can only save on -2. Yeah, so I like Bolter Interceptors, and this is a 5-man squad, so this is pretty cool. And then we've got a 5-man squad, a 6-man squad of Eradicators. Holy crap. Running heavy melta rifles. Alright, I think this is wrong for 2 reasons. One, the heavy melta rifles are super difficult to play around because you can't advance and shoot, which I actually think is one of the best things about regular Eradicators. And I think the difference between heavy melta rifles and regular melta rifles is not enough to justify the heavies. And having them in a single squad as well means that if that squad ever gets locked down in combat, then you've just shut down all your firepower. There's no reason that you can't have 2 squads here. So if I was you, I would have 2 squads of Eradicators, and I would run them with regular melta rifles. Regular melta rifles obviously let you advance and shoot. You take -1 to hit if you do that, but if you miss a turn of shooting because you need to advance your Eradicators, then it more than makes up for it that the fact that the regular melta rifles can hit at -1. Like you'll get more value out of the course of the game, and split them up as well. That way, if they're split up in squads of 3, you won't have to worry about morale as well because it's just a tiny little squad. I mean, I guess transhuman's not going to be as good because you can transhuman these guys. But I think having them 2 squads of 3, it's going to be easier to get them into the places on the board that you need them. And yeah, I tried to run heavy melta rifles. And in some, it's a bit like what we talked about earlier. In some battles, it will be very useful. The enemy will charge at you and you'll stand your ground and your heavy melta rifles will blow them to pieces. But if you have to move towards the enemy, the heavy melta rifles are weak. And another thing is Eradicators get double the number of shots if you shoot everything at the same unit. So you don't want a massive squad, because having a massive squad you may end up needing to split fire. So if you ever need to shoot at 2 different units, then the smaller squad is going to be better here. And it's also going to save you like 30 points, I think, because the regular melta rifles are just 135 points per squad, right? And it's the heavies that are 150. So you're going to get 30 more points. If I got 30 more points in this list, I'd probably drop one of these Helix gauntlets that gives you 40 more points. I'd probably drop like an Infernal Pistol and put 2 in each squad, so that gives you now 45 more points. With 45 more points, you can either upgrade that Priest to give you the free revive every turn, or you can add 1 more Sanctuary Guard. Yeah. I might even be tempted to drop an Infiltrator squad for Incursor squad, so you'd actually be able to get 70 points back here. You run 2 Incursors, 1 Infiltrators, and you made the changes here and you made the changes here. You'd be able to like either make both your Sanctuary Guard plus 1 model, or make 1 Sanctuary Guard plus 1 model and give your Priest the 35 point upgrade that leaves him the ability to do a revive every turn. Caring Commissar says, "Good evening, new Blood Angels player here and new to the channel." Well, welcome, Caring Commissar. You should join our Discord. We have a pretty giant Discord now. I actually do not even know how many members are in it, but you can find the link in the video description. We have a Facebook group that has a lot of a Facebook group with like a lot of Blood Angels players. I think over 1,000 now as well. And you can also follow us over on Facebook if you want to be keep it up to date with all the new videos that I do. I usually try and post them over on the Facebook page, so any follows on the Facebook page would be super appreciated. But welcome, thanks for coming, thanks for hanging out. Steel Rain asks, John, do you think that running 5 Death Company with Infernal Pistols to Forlorn Fury up and pop something relatively cheap could be pretty consistent with Chapter Master rerolls? That's interesting, actually, Steel Rain. So you'd have to pay 2 CP to get the 20... No, you'd pay... What's Forlorn Fury 1 CP if you're only 5-man, isn't it? So you would pay 1 CP to get 24 inches forward. Chapter Master rerolls, you'd have 5 Infernal Pistols. I mean, with Chapter Master rerolls, you get... let me think. You get like an 80 88.9% chance to hit, if I remember correctly. I use any dice for all my maths for chance to hit. So you roll a d6, you're re-rolling 1s and 2s as a d6, and you click calculate and you click at least. So yeah, 88.9% is what I said, I think. So if you had 5 Infernal Pistols, I guess 5 Infernal Pistols, 5 times 88.9, make 4.5 hits on average. I mean, it's probably a cheap way to do it, but I guess the other question is, if you're going to run a 5-man death company, let's say 5 Thunderhammers, because we've seen some people do that in competitive play, right? So it's like a 200-point death company. But you get, how many attacks does a Death Company Marine get with a Thunderhammer? If you put them in Assault Doctrine in turn 1, and you give them Chapter Master rerolls. I forget, does Assault Doctrine in turn 1 grant you the additional +1 attack? I think it does, right? I haven't used that myself much, but I'm sure if you're given, yeah, that's right. So if the Priest gives you Assault Doctrine in turn 1, you get the additional attack. So a Death Company Marine gets 2 attacks. They would get 3 attacks from the charge from the Black Rage. They get 4 attacks because of the charging. They get 5 attacks from the... So you get 25 attacks, but you hit on -1s because you're Thunderhammers, but you reroll everything. So if you hit on -1s and you reroll everything because of the Thunderhammers, you would spend 150 points to get 4.45 Infernal Pistol hits, or you would spend 200 points to get 18.75 Thunderhammer hits. I think when I look at it that way, I'd probably go for the Thunderhammer hits, right? Just because 18 Thunderhammers, and these are going to be Strength 8 with +1 to wound, like, that is going to do it's going to do a lot of damage. I guess then what we should probably do is, like, the Thunderhammers do 3 damage, right? So the maximum damage that can do is 56.25, whereas, like, an Infernal Pistol, if you manage to get within half range, you do d6 +2. So if you average that, d6 +2 is 5.5. So technically you pay 50 points more, but you kind of almost do over double damage, right? 56.25 divided by 24. Yeah, you do 230% damage, Steel Rain. I mean, it's a good question. And it's kind of interesting to just jump... the Death Company can obviously charge after that, and they would have a bunch of chainsword attacks. I mean, we should probably factor that in, the fact that they would have... would it be 6 chainsword attacks each? So you'd have another 30 chainswords coming in, you'd re-roll everything. So you would get 26 chainsword attacks as well. So I mean, when you bring that into the equation, and the fact that those chainswords be -2, you could jump forward. You could put 5 Infernal Pistols into a piece of armor, and then you could jump. You could then charge some infantry or something. It's an interesting question. I think if I was going to do it myself, I would do hammers, though. I mean, I like Infernal Pistols probably more than most people. But I think if I was going to do the Death Company thing, I'd probably do hammers. Were you guys watching last night? Did you see that I kind of finally finished this Relic Contemptor? He's so close. I can't remember what I still have to do with him. But yeah, I'm going to probably get onto his arms pretty soon, so I'm excited about that. But anyway, where are we? We were talking about Ozzy's list. Let's do some scoring. He has 3 full boss units, so I guess that would probably be like an 8.5. He actually has also Helix Gauntlets on 2 of them, so I'm going to score them as they are right now, so a 9 we'll say, because Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlets are pretty survivable. Anti-Horde Infantry, so we have like a squad of Inceptors, 5 Angelus bolt guns, but that's kind of it. So I'm going to say Anti-Horde is kind of lower here. And I know you can kill hordes with melee units, I always say this, but like I really think about firepower I have an emphasis on shooting when we come to horde lists, because usually when you're fighting stuff with hordes, they'll have hordes of crap, but they'll have strong stuff behind it, so you really want to shoot out the hordes and then charge the strong stuff behind it. So this list potentially doesn't have too much of that. Anti-monster infantry, well, let's look at 4 damage weapons. At the moment we've got 6 eradicators, that gives us 4. We've got 5 infernal pistol, that gives us 11. And then we've got Thunderhammer on the Sergeant. So we do have 12 3 damage weapons, but I would have liked to see some Thunderhammers in this Death Company, probably. I would potentially, if this was me, I'd potentially drop one of these Inceptors. Because if you drop one Inceptor, that gives you 40 points back. That could be 2 Thunderhammers into this Death Company. I think 100 Thunderhammers are 25 points per model. Are they? No, they're 15 on a Death Company. How many points is a Thunderhammer in a Death Company Marine? Surely it's 15. It can't be 25. I think it's 25 on the Primaris ones, which seems expensive. Surely it's 15 on the Thunderhammer. 15. Yeah, so I would drop probably an Inceptor and pick up a couple of Thunderhammers into the squad, and like I said, either beef out these Sanguinary Guard or the Priest a bit better. Okay. Anti-monster infantry then, I'm going to say 9. It's a little bit weaker. Mobility I think is really good. Apart from your Eradicators. The Eradicators are a big question mark for me because I really don't like heavy metal Eradicators. I ran 2 squads of heavy metal Eradicators. I ran them in like 2 or 3 games, and I really feel like you just need to run either attack bikes or regular Eradicators. The heavy metal ones, too many times in the game you end up not being able to shoot them because they're not in a good position. And I tried to deploy them in good positions to get good firing arcs, and I still didn't. I still struggled. Commissarius joined the Facebook group. Thanks for that. Revan says no tactical unit. What do you mean by no tactical unit, Revan? Sorry. Zacharias says, quick question, do you think a company champion as a smashy character? If you give him the Relic Blade and his upgrade in Imperium Sword, he looks like a 7 attack, +4 strength, -3 AP, 3 damage, and he's 70 points. I like the company champion in principle, Zachary. He is very strong, like you said, for a low-pointed character. The thing that I struggle with is I already got 3 characters on my list, and I don't like making it very easy for the enemy to get points from Assassinate. But if you can make that work, and maybe you might need a Rhino or something, or a drop pod for the company champion to make him super effective, just because he's got no jump pack. But I do think for 70 points he's kind of a steal. He is probably one of the most damaging characters for the least amount of points. Specialization, okay. We don't have a fight last. We don't have any denies. We do have 3 units for actions. We do have 12 3 damage weapons. We do have a very good amount of CP. I think you had started on 9. Yep. And we don't have protection against mortal wounds. So there's kind of 3 big things here that this list is going to struggle with. And even though we do have those 12 3 damage weapons, 6 of them are coming from the Eradicators that I think you're going to struggle with. I think there's too many Infernal Pistols in that one squad. There's no hammers in this Death Company, so I think possibly the 3 damage weapon thing needs a bit of a rethink as well. I'm going to say 6.5 for specialization. So I think you said that you were newer to the hobby, or you're trying to take in and learn more Aussie. And I think you've done a pretty good job to start with. There's a very competent melee Blood Angel list, but I think there is some improvements that could be made for sure. And I think if you end up in games where you're struggling to make charges and you're getting killed in Overwatch and stuff like that, then I think Whirlwind is something you could consider as well. I like the Whirlwind a lot. It brings a lot of utility. The 40 points would pay for 2 Thunderhammers in the Death Company and for 1 on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. Yeah, because he's already got the Storm Shield, you're right. DTM, the Storm Shield costs 5 points, or the Lightning Claw costs 3 points, so you could lose the Lightning Claw and take a 12. I think it's 12 points for a Thunderhammer on the Vanguard Veterans. So yeah, that would be a good point. I'd lose 1 Inceptor and get 3 more hammers in here, and then I'd feel a lot better. And if you switch out some of these Infernal Pistols and What else did I say? Fix your Eradicator squad. I think this list is getting a little bit more rounded, it feels to me. Okay, what else have people say? I wish it was heavy Thunderhammers. Yeah, Death Company with heavy Thunderhammers would. Matt says putting together a second 5-man Death Company squad right now with a bunch of hammers for exactly that kind of swingy madness. Yeah, I have a bunch of Death Company with hammers that need painted. Maybe I will paint them after I finish my Contemptors. I got 2 squads of Incursors that I wanted to paint. I was sticking beakheads on these guys last night because I love beakheads, and they look very cool on some of the new Primaris models. So yeah, maybe I'll paint some more Death Company with hammers sooner rather than later. No Assault Intercessors. Are they not an auto-include? I've got Assault Intercessors in my list right now, but just one squad. I think Incursors are the strongest troops, carrying Commissar. I think that's going to be even more so when the new chapter approved comes out. Incursors are the best troop choices. Don't have Incursors, I highly advise you get some. Assault Intercessors are decent for us, but they have to close a gap across the battlefield, right? And not quite often you can lose too many of them when you're doing that, which is kind of the problem with. And I don't like taking transports for Assault Intercessors. Well, do you know what? We're actually doing a video on how to start Blood Angels, and it's coming out on Thursday this week. Over on our Grot. We do a podcast about Blood Angels. I'm sure you guys are sick of me telling you guys about this podcast, but the podcast is something that we're trying to build, and if you go onto the Blood Angels Commander channel here, scroll to the bottom and you see this, 3 Grots and a Vox. This is our new podcast. We're trying to release a video every 2 weeks. And in this week's video, we're going to be talking about starting Blood Angels. How we start Blood Angels in terms of competitive, how we start in terms of fluffy armies. So feel free to subscribe. And that video will probably be out like Thursday evening or something. It's already recorded, I just have to edit it, which I was going to do tonight. Okay. I wish that Primaris 2 takes jump packs. You're right, Living Ghost. They should let them take jump packs. How are you going to run your Assault Intercessors, Reziel, then? Because, I mean, I run Assault Intercessors in every list, right? Just because they're nice. They're the cheapest Primaris troops you can field. If you're looking for a reason to field Assault Intercessors, point for point, they're the cheapest Primaris troops you can field. They are only 5 points cheaper than regular Intercessors, but arguably, I mean, they're better for us because they got chainswords, right? Okay, list number 3 today, Brew and Biscuits. And I remember Brew and Biscuits being in the chat a few times. I haven't spoke to him in a little while, so hopefully he'll maybe check this one out. Brew and Bis. I'm just going to write Brew and B, because that's probably all it's going to fit anyway. Cool. Okay, so this is a patrol detachment. Captain, Gift of Foresight, Hammer of Baal, Infernal Pistol, Jump Pack, Imperium Sword, and he is a Warlord. Imperium Sword, I guess, for reroll charges. Gift of Foresight as well. Okay. And then the Hammer of Baal is his relic. I'm not sure you need Hammer of Baal here if you have Gift of Foresight and Imperium Sword, because Imperium Sword gives you... I think Imperium Sword gives you +1 strength and +1 attack, right? It's been a little while since I ran Imperium Sword. Imperium Sword. Can't spell sword. Where is it? Imperium Sword. Yeah, +1 strength and +1 attack. So you're already your Thunderhammer's already strength 9 with +1 to wound. You have 1 additional attack. And then you can reroll 1 hit and 1 wound as well. So I mean, I guess you want to hit on... It's a tough one, right? Like, if this was me, would I mastercraft a regular Thunderhammer and make, like, so... a captain gets 4 attacks, so he gets a maximum of 7 attacks. So it's 7 attacks hitting on 2s for 3 damage, or 7 attacks hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1 for 4 damage, right? That's the change. And then it's a tough one, right? I actually think that when I mathed this out, the 4 damage hammer actually did better, but like it was so long ago I mathed this out. I don't know if I'd be able to find those slides quickly and compare it. But I think pretty sure if you look back through my YouTube videos, I've done one where I compared the captain, the Hammer of Baal against a 4 damage hammer. I will try and find it at some point. Or if you message me on Discord, I can probably find it. I don't want to. It's going to take me 10 minutes to find it right now. Okay. We then have a Sanguinary Priest who has the icon of the angel and is the selfless healer. Upgraded to Chief Apothecary, obviously. Shunken, Tigkin, are we doing Math Hammer? I mean, I do Math Hammer every week. Well, do you know what? This channel started with me doing Math Hammer every week. I got spreadsheets full of Math Hammer. I haven't done Math Hammer so much of late, but I mean, I do Math Hammer. Like, I have like spreadsheets where I made formulas that can work out chance to hit and chance for charges and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I do all that. I like to win, basically. So yeah, I do as much maths as I need to win games. We then have 2 squads of Infiltrators. We have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts with the Stormbolters, the Rocket Pods, the Macros, and the Onslaught Cannons. I think this is the best way to equip your Redemptors 100%. What mechanical benefits do I get from dual-wielding Thunderhammers? I don't think you can dual-wield Thunderhammers. I don't think there's any character in the game that can dual-wield a Thunderhammer. But I don't think you would get any benefit anyway. You would be better off having like 1 Thunderhammer, 1 Lightning Claw. The Math Hammer got me started with this channel. Yeah, I mean, maybe I need to make a couple more Math Hammer videos. I haven't done it for a little while because I compared so many things. If there's something that you want compared, a captain can dual-wield Thunderhammers. Well, I don't think you get any advantage for taking the second hammer, unfortunately. If there's something that you want compared for the Math Hammer, then I'm happy to do it. I mean, those are actually easier videos for me to make because I already did a lot of the formulas to make maths. If an Impulsor could take 10 Assault Intercessors, then that could be something. They do have a Fight Twice strat. Yeah, I mean, the problem, I guess, would be like, you know how like the Eldar can play like 10 points to take a Spirit Stone on their transports? If like a Repulsor could pay extra points, get like an invulnerable save, so a Repulsor was actually viable, and you could then put Assault Intercessors on a Repulsor, or Death Company Intercessors, like a 10-man squad, that might be kind of interesting. But yeah, you just can't. The old Math Hammer videos are still very useful. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times, I think I got to a point where like I felt like you're not a member of the channel, but channel members get access to the slides I made for all the previous videos with all the Math Hammer in it, so you don't have to go digging into YouTube. I mean, spoiler, I suppose, is you could subscribe for 1 month and unsubscribe, and I think the link will still work. So you could get access to all those videos and all the stuff. But if there's specific Math Hammer things that people want to see, I'm more than happy to do it. You know, like sometimes I take notes about videos I want to do in the future. I actually made that video for Reziel a few weeks back. So, Math Hammer on something exciting. Okay, I've got an idea. I'm going to put Death Company there, maybe, because I think there's something exciting we could... Okay, so Captain, Sanguinary Guard, 2 Infiltrators, 2 Redemptors. That's the first, and that was a Patrol Detachment? Yeah, okay, so then a second detachment is a Vanguard Detachment. So we've got a Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening and Wings and Iron Resolve, and I actually really like Iron Resolve in that Librarian Dreadnought. Gives him the 6-up Shrug, which helps him against, like, if he gets perils and puts him on 9 wounds. He's pretty great, the Librarian Dreadnought. he's a beat stick in this edition. I prefer doing the math myself. Well, I mean, if you prefer the math yourself, that's fine too. We then have 5 Blade Guard. We also have Death Company Dreadnought with Heavy Flamer, Melt-A-Gun, and the Blood Talons. I think double Heavy Flamer is the way to go on the Death Company Dreadnought to try and help prevent him being charged, so he is the aggressor. I mean, a Melt-A-Gun's okay, but his ballistic skill of 3+ is kind of his weakness. He then has a Tactical War Suit, and I think Tactical War Suits are very difficult to play right. And yeah, I mean, Highland Phoenix is saying you could make this one squad of 10 Vanguard veterans, which you plan to combat squad, and remove the Tactical War Suit and get an Infiltrator squad and get +3 CP. I don't like Tactical War Suits. They're toughness 6, but they have no invulnerable save, and they also have no... They have no duty eternal, so they die very, very easily. And I think the other thing that I don't like about the Tactical War Suits is they need support, and they need support like far forward on the battlefield early, right? Like if you deploy a Tactical War Suit far forward, it's just going to get killed. I mean, Redemptor, like I was complaining that Redemptors get killed, and Redemptors can sit back in the Psychic Fortress and they can have a Tech Marine healing them. So for me, I've never managed to specifically get Tactical War Suits to work well. They don't have enough attacks, unless you're going to run like multiple Tactical War Suits, and even then I think it's very difficult to deploy them, because you don't know if you're going first or second, right? So the whole... We did a tier list for all the units, right? And when I'm in doubt, I go back to my tier lists. So we did a tier list for every Blood Angels unit, and in Elites, where did we put Tactical War Suits? We actually put them like middle of C. And S is Sanguinary, A is Awesome, B is Bad, I guess, C is Crap, and D is Dumpster. So we said Tactical War Suits are crap, similar to Aggressors, similar to Furioso Dreadnought, similar to Reavers. It's only 1 point above Reavers. I really think that you want to avoid Tactical War Suits. We then have a Sanguinary Guard with 6 and 1 Power Fist, and we have all swords here. I do think axes are sort of better in the current edition than swords. They're wounding more reliably. A lot of things have really good invulnerable saves, so swords -3 doesn't always come into play. I mean, swords are fine, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike swords on Sanguinary Guard. I just think axes are maybe better. And then we have 2 Vanguard veteran squads, all with chain swords and storm shields. And it's a real pity. I mean, straight away you've got 3 points left, so one of these sergeants could replace their chainsword with a lightning claw. It's a real pity that you don't have lightning claws on the Vanguard veterans, because the lightning claws make them so much better. Like, they're still the same strength, but the fact that they can reroll all their wounds is huge. The lightning claws also have an additional point of AP, and to do each squad is just going to be 15 points. Yeah, so I would drop this Tactical War Suit for sure. I would take the 160 points, and I would give yourself lightning claws across all these guys. I would also maybe consider making your captain into a chapter master, because I think the chapter master rerolls are actually kind of huge if used right. I did do Math Hammer on the chapter master rerolls before, and it costs like 30 points, but it increases the DPS of like whatever you put it on by around 22% if they're on a ballistic skill or a weapon skill of 3. So if you think of your dreadnoughts that are hitting on 3s, their chance to hit is 66%. If you give them chapter master rerolls, their chance to hit becomes 89%. So it's like 23% more. And if you can use it on a unit like a Redemptor that can shoot and combat, then you can get like double bonus out of it, and you can also get bonus out of it in the opponent's turn as well. when they charge you, you get to fight back. If you take 2 hammers, there's no benefit. However, despite the fact, nothing will stop me from making a mini with 2 massive thunder hammers because it's badass. Well, that's fair enough. Go ahead and make your badass mini. I mean, you do you, right? This hobby is all about doing your own customization. Tactical warsuits are great in Ultramarines who have a redeploy strat, and Blood Angels, they just don't make it in. Thank you for your comment, Adam. Yeah, I just don't know how to play tactical warsuits. I've tried, because what I like to do with my friends is if I'm not sure if something's good, I like to proxy stuff. So I said to them, like, can I proxy some of my Redemptors tactical warsuits because they have the same base size? I tried multiple times, and they never did. Like, a couple of times I set them up so far forward they could make a turn 1 charge, but they never did enough damage, and they never did enough shooting, really, either from the charge or from the shooting that made me feel like they were worth it, and then they just got deleted off the board. DTM says Invictors aren't Blood Angels units. They aren't good for Blood Angels. Yeah, Chapter Master's 40 points. 40 points then. Sorry, thank you for keeping me right. Yeah, because I run a captain who's 165 points. The reason I thought it was 30 points is because this is a captain with a jump pack. I run my captain on a bike because, excuse me, I like the +1 toughness the bike gives you, and I guess 2 inches additional movement. I know you can't jump over things, but I don't usually have too much problems. Yeah, so the Chapter Master upgrade is 40 points, but it will give a unit basically 23% increased DPS. So this army has 2 Redemptors, both of them will benefit massively from Chapter Master upgrades. So your Blade Guard. I don't think the Death Company Dreadnought is core anymore, so he can't benefit from it. But your Vanguard Veterans, if these were a 10-man squad, they would benefit from it hugely. If they were a 10-man squad, you gave them Chapter Master rerolls, and you'd given them a Lightning Claws. They would be rerolling hits and wounds, which would be very good. So, 2 squads of Infiltrators. We've seen this a few times today. I think Incursors are a better unit for Blood Angels. I think Infiltrators are good if you have a defined strategy around them and you're trying to like hold the backfield. I get the Deep Strike Denial is good as well, but I'm seeing... So a year ago I would have been running 2 squads of Infiltrators. I actually painted my Infiltrators before I painted my Incursors, which in hindsight now was annoying, but the amount of Deep Strike coming into the board is much, much less than I've seen. Like a year ago, there was a lot of stuff deep striking. Now it seems like deep striking is much less common. So I went to 2 tournaments in the last 2 months, and I think I saw across all those games maybe like two enemy units put in deep strike. I was like the Enigma, right? Because every game I was putting 4 units. Like, I was putting a unit into strategic reserve, or 2 units into strategic reserve, and keeping like 1 or 2 units for deep strike. And I was like the Enigma. Like, no one else was doing this. I only saw 1 person do it. So I think Infiltrators, I would rather run Incursors right now. I think Incursors are going to get stronger because of the new changes to coming to retrieve Octarius data. I think you need Lightning Claws on this. I would say that will help you a lot. And, you do have 4 Dreadnoughts in this list. So, with 4 Dreadnoughts in your list, I mean, at the moment you actually have a Tactical Warsuit as well. I'm wondering if the Sanguinary Priest is the right choice here, because he is very expensive at 155 points. And there isn't a huge amount of models for him to revive. I mean, there's some. But you might find a Tech Marine might be a better choice here as well. And I guess it depends on how it depends on how committed you are to the Sanguinary Priest, I would say. Is that 23% more damage than rerolling just once, or 23% more than no rerolls? Yeah, 23% more than no rerolls, Zachary. The advantage to the Chapter Master rerolls buff is the Chapter Master can cast that buff on a unit, then fuck off. So, like, the way that I tend to play my Chapter Master is in turn 1 and 2, he'll maybe sit with the Dreadnoughts, sort of 6 inches away from them, giving maybe one of them reroll 1s and one of them Chapter Master rerolls, and then on turn 3, I'll again cast the Chapter Master rerolls on one of the Dreadnoughts, and then I'll move forward 14 inches or something. And I mean, you've got this guy on a jump pack, so you can do the exact same thing. you don't have to hang with the Dreadnoughts for 2 turns either. I just like to play a little bit slower and sort of hang out and let my Dreadnoughts do a good amount of work to thin out enemy units and then charge them. Yeah, he does. He just fucks off. Yeah, he moves 14 inches away, and usually he'll charge an enemy at that point as well, right? So, and meanwhile, the Dreadnought's still re-rolling for the entire turn. I still see enough deep strike to warrant 1 unit of backfield infiltrators myself, but just the 1 squad. So because I run a whirlwind in my list, I can use my whirlwind and my 1 squad of incursors to screen the backfield pretty effectively. I don't feel like I need the infiltrators personally, but this list doesn't have a whirlwind. The whirlwind has quite a big base as well, or it's quite a big tank, I guess. So using the whirlwind and a squad of incursors, I find that backfield screening is pretty easy. Storm Shield feels redundant on a captain. Take an Infernal Pistol. Yes, that's how I run my captain. Thunderhammer and Infernal Pistol, and then I take the Armor Indomitus relic. Not sure if you're familiar with that relic, Shukin, or I'm not sure if you're a Blood Angels player. I think this is the first time I've seen you in chat, but thanks for being here anyway. Armor Indomitus is a Space Marine relic that'll give you a 2-up save, and it'll give you, once per game, you can activate a 3-up invulnerable save, and the brilliant thing about Armor Indomitus, do you get access to the Space Marine relics if you play Deathwatch? I actually don't know. I assume you are Codex compliant, but I actually don't know. If you do get access to the Space Marine relics, then I would highly recommend you check out Armor Indomitus. Okay. So yeah, just before I went to my tournament, I said to Andrew, do you think I should continue to run the Sanguinary Priest, or should I run the Tech Marine? Because I really thought to myself that like Sanguinary Priest is sort of core to what I do as Blood Angels, but this list is pushing armor pretty heavily. You know, like you've got 4 Dreadnoughts here. I suppose at the moment you've got 5 if you include the Tactical Warsuit. So you're sort of pushing into the realms of like a Tech Marine is 100 points with the ability to heal for 3 every turn. You can give one of the Redemptors +1 to hit. Deathwatch get Codex stuff if they want. Then yeah, Armor Indomitus is amazing because you do not need to activate Armor Indomitus till you know how many saves you need to make. So it's not like Transhuman or something when you have to play it when you get shot. Then you can wait till enemy roll all their dice and roll their hits and roll all their wounds and then be like, now I want to activate Armor Indomitus. I don't know what Eye of Abiding is. Let me see. I'm going to Google it for you. Or I'm going to chuck it in here. Eye of Abiding. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm human. I swear I'm human. I'm not a servitor. Deathwatch. Eye of Abiding. Let's do. Each time the bearer makes an attack, you can ignore any and all hit, wound, and ballistic and weapon skill modifiers for that attack. Each time this bearer makes an attack, an unmodified roll of 6. Invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against that attack. I mean, that's decent. I'd say that's decent, but here's the question that I often ask. Warsuits aren't Dreadnoughts, sure, but more, it's 5 units of armor that he has in this list, so I would be pushing towards a Tech Marine. And yeah, my question is, Shukin, like, yes, you could do a little bit more damage, but do you survive afterwards? And that's the question that is in 9th edition, right? If your characters can survive, and survive like for a whole other round of combat, then that's probably better than like doing a couple more points of damage in a single round of combat, right? And that's what Armor Indomitus lets you do. Armor Indomitus lets you basically tank up anything in the game for a single turn. It's kind of crazy good. Yeah, I think what you should probably do in this list is try the Primaris Tech Marine, and also maybe try getting rid of the Tactical Warsuit, and then also run it as a battalion with maybe 2 squads of incursors. I'm like a fucking salesman for incursors. I literally have them on my desk. I have another 5 up there that I need to build. If you tune into my streams over the next month, I will probably be painting incursors. I'm going to probably spray them ASAP, really, because the weather here is getting bad. When will they release the new secondaries? I don't know. Goonhammer, I haven't read the Goonhammer article. I haven't actually really been on my computer today. Dear reader, in case you missed it, he revealed all the secondary objectives in the 2021 G-Team pack. The good news is we're back today, blah blah blah. Some thoughts? Any release date? No, it didn't say a release date yet. But I mean, when did Chapter approve 2021 release? Chapter approved 2021 release date. It launched in May? Really? Holy crap. Alright, I don't know if it's going to be May again. Was it really May? I mean, everybody was in lockdown anyway in Britain for a while there, so maybe we didn't play any games the first 6 months, I don't know. Captain is toughness 4, 5 wounds, 3+4+, though my friend suggested using Armor Artificer and a Storm Shield, but one auto fails. Yeah, don't use Armor. Artificer armor is like so much shitter than Armor Indomitus. Like, it's not even close. Like, when we did a tier list, we put like Artificer armor as like a C, and Armor Indomitus is like an A or maybe even an S. Do you think this is going to change the core of your usual tactics? I know Rod is your usual go-to for you. Well, I mean, I already run a battalion at the moment, Tezab, so I already got 3 troop units that can perform actions. What does it mean in terms of Rod? I mean, typically those are the 3 units that are performing actions, just I have my servitors come in. Adamantium Mantle, worth it. I mean, it's okay, Adamantium Mantle, but I think for the most part, Armor Indomitus is going to be your go-to. I think it's the strongest relic in the Space Marine book, honestly. Keeping your characters alive for an entire turn because you activate a 3-up invulnerable save on them is just very valuable. As a Blood Angels, is insanely valuable because alright, let's get to some scoring. 2 squads of infiltrators, I think, is about an 8. Anti-Horde, well, he did have a lot of Dreadnoughts. I guess it's just 2 Redemptors, I suppose. But I guess the War Suit gives him a little bit of firepower as well. I think he'd get like an 8. Yeah, I think for 8 for Anti-Monster. Anti-Vehicle or Horde, we would be looking at, for 3 damage weapons, we have a Meltagun here. The Blood Talons are 3 damage weapons, so that gives us 3. The Librarian Dreadnought's got 2, 4. The Warsuit's got 1, 5. The 2 Redemptors, 9. The Captain with the Thunderhammer, 10. Anti-Monster Vehicle in this list, I think it's pretty good. I would really like to see Lightning Claws on that Vanguard Veteran squad. I think it makes them so much better. I think I'd also... If you were going to drop the Tactical Warsuit, I might even put a Thunderhammer on both Sergeants. I think that makes them pretty cool as well. And probably add something to the Sanguinary Guard as well. Maybe a couple of axes. But yeah, Anti-Monster is about a 9. Mobility... So Dreadnoughts aren't mobile, but I don't really see it as too much of a problem. So I think it's similar to Camille's list. Maybe slightly lower because he has like a couple more. I mean, for the Librarian Dreadnought, you're relying on a psychic power that can be denied, and the Death Company Dreadnought is he's pretty slow. I don't know why they gave him a 6-inch move. He still needed an 8-inch move. This list needs more Sanguinary Guard. I haven't showed you a meme yet. Today, Steel Range, so let's show it. It needs more Sanguinary Guard. Doesn't need more Sanguinary Guard. Yeah, probably. 1 squad that's just a 6 feels pretty small. 1 squad of just 6 feels pretty small, yes. And then specialization. So we don't have a fight last. We don't have any denies. Oh no, we do have denies. We have 1 from the Librarian. He isn't the Chief Librarian, just a regular Librarian, so we just have 1. We have 2 units for actions. We have about 10 3 damage weapons. We are starting with 4 CP, which is pretty low, which would be another reason to make this into battalion. I don't like starting any game with less than 5 or 6, so 4 is low. I think my current list is starting with 6 or 7. Is it 6 I'm starting with? Maybe. Because I've got two Relic Contemptors. I've got the 1 on the Captain. Yeah, I think I'm starting with 7. And I think starting with 4 is horrifically low, and then we don't have protection against mortal wounds either. So specialization, I think this is even a little bit. I think there's a lot of things that you're probably missing. So I don't think it's a horrible list. I think it can do okay, but I think that do you know what? I guess you've got protection against mortal wounds around the priest. You've got that 6-up shrug. So I'll give you half a point back for that. But yeah, I mean, it feels like this. So this is probably where I was maybe a year ago, where it was like you're trying to run the priest to get value out of the healing of units, but you've got half your models are armor. So this is a difficult one. Is the Tech Marine better in this army list than the priest? Maybe. I mean, I push to the Tech Marine and I've been winning plenty fine, and I don't really feel I miss the priest that much. I mean, sure, sometimes you do miss the priest, but having a Tech Marine when you've got like a couple of Redemptors, keeping them alive, keeping them firing on ballistic skill of like 3 with a +1 to hit throughout the whole game can be really nasty. And I actually think the Tech Marine is very good in combat. So that's something to consider as well. What is the absolute must-take in every Blood Angels list, the staple workhorse? Well, I already mentioned our podcast. You need to tune in on Thursday, Caring Commissar. And we're going to go over 3 ways to start Blood Angels. But Sanguinary Guard probably are your main workhorse in a lot of Blood Angels lists. If you don't have any Sanguinary Guard and you want to play Blood Angels, you could go a lot worse than buying, let's say, 2 boxes of Sanguinary Guard as a start. Are Devastator Centurions worth it? Or Relic Terminators worth it? I think Relic Terminators are a lot better than Devastator Centurions. Devastator Centurions are crazy overcosted. I actually don't know what chapter you make them work with. Maybe like Ultramarines. But for Blood Angels, no way. Relic Terminators with the Stormbolters and Lightning Claws are pretty okay. I think they're reasonably costed. And yeah, I mean, I like Terminators in this edition. They're a bit slow, but if you can work around their slowness, they're good. I look at this stuff and realize that maybe I should be sticking to painting over playing because I have no idea what anyone is talking. That's alright, Dave. I mean, I had no when I started playing, I lost a lot of games. You got to start somewhere. If you're painting already, that's great. And if you want to know how to start an easy army list, we're doing a podcast on Thursday about that. Incursors and Sanguinary Guard. Yeah, I mean, Incursors and Sanguinary. I'm a veteran player, and that's literally what I'm buying. More Incursors, more Sanguinary Guard, and I think I got 20 Sanguinary Guards painted, and I've got 15 Incursors painted or something. At the moment, it seems to be Captain on a Bike, Incursors, Redemptor Dreadnoughts. You know, you can go a lot worse than Redemptor Dreadnoughts as well. I bought 3 of them. Isn't Twin Lightning Claws usually better for the additional attack, so +2 to the attack stat? Again, 9th edition is very much an edition about surviving. The additional 1 attack you get from the second Lightning Claw kind of pales compared to the 4-up invulnerable save you get from the Storm Shield. So my opinion is always go Lightning Claw and Storm Shield over 2 Lightning Claws. It does cost you 2 more points, but I think it's very much worth it as well. Vanguard Vets are very, very good right now for Blood Angels, yes. Blade Guard Veterans to a lesser extent as well. And yeah, I mean, all those things. Do you know what? Have I finished scoring this? Yes. Okay, so I will quickly show you the slide I made for the podcast we're doing on Thursday. I'm not gonna talk about the slide because it's gonna spoiler the podcast. But you can find the podcast on the Grotz channel. And getting started with Blood Angels. So this is a slide I quickly made. I'm not gonna talk about it, but you can look at that. Those are things that I would buy if I was starting right now to get started and get going. Tune in on Thursday, you'll see more about it. Hiding is better than surviving, and damage is better than Vuns. Relic Terminators can't take Storm Shields. No, but they already got a 2-up save and they have a 5-up invulnerable save from their Crux Terminatus, which is basically their Terminator armor, right? But yeah. Okay, so that's the end of today's show, pretty much. All 4 lists are reviewed. I should have probably We probably said congratulations to Camille. I think his list was strongest today. But I think all the lists today were actually pretty good. Hopefully I gave the people some good opinions. So I am going to not be playing a live game tomorrow night, because we're having a baby on Tuesday. So me and my wife will be at the hospital on Tuesday to have a baby, so I will not. Potentially, I have no idea what's happening with the channel next week. I mean, the podcast will go out on Thursday. There'll probably be a tactics video on Friday, but my live streaming schedule this week might be a bit all over the place because I already got one baby, so I'll be dealing with the one baby while my wife is in hospital. Normally, she deals with all that. So if you don't see me much this week, just tag me in Discord if you need anything. And I mean, I will be about, and I will actually try and live stream at some point. But yeah, baby is happening on Tuesday. So, and then I think next Monday so next Tuesday. Let me see. I think Andrew updated the bracket on the plastic crackheads. Did he? Yeah, no, he has. I don't think he's updated the bracket on this double elimination tournament, but I know that Gav beat Brett and I beat John. So I am playing Gav, I think next Tuesday. Oh, and Colin beat Andrew. So I guess if I beat Gav, then I will be in the winner bracket final against Colin. If Gav beats me, then I guess I will drop down. Where will I drop? So I was here, loser of 10. So I will drop down and play either Scott or Rennie. I don't think they've played yet. So I'll drop down here into this loser bracket. So we'll see. That's probably what's happening the following week. But yeah, thank you for the congratulations. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Hit the like button if you did. If you are new, please consider subscribing. We are here usually every week, but this week might be a little bit different because of the new baby arriving. I appreciate all that. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky. The baby is gonna need surgery pretty much as soon as it's born because they found something wrong with it. I'm just gonna leave it at that. There's something not right, so there's gonna be some surgery as soon as it's born. So fingers crossed that all goes fine. If you don't see me, I'll try and keep you guys updated. And yeah, I've been kind of trying to just put it to the back of my mind and focus on other things like my painting, like my Warhammering. So I appreciate the support as always, guys. I will see you as soon as I can. Have a great week. And yeah, leave me any comments that you want. I hope you enjoy Thursday's podcast as well. So thanks again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. By the blood, Army made strong.